Hey everybody, today I thought I'd share my two old friends. Now, it's really cold. It's been getting close to -20 almost every night, -30 the other night, and so I've been fighting a cold actually, and I feel really chilly, and I thought maybe I should jump up and share about these nunchucks that I've had for a long time. Now, I've had these since either 96 or 97 when I came to the Chinese Shaolin Center. I bought these. So this is like an 8-sided nunchucks, and we ended up adding tape. A friend and I thought it would be smart to put tape on here because we could spray paint it with some fluorescent colors and spin it under the black light, see? So this has been on there probably since 99. And I haven't bothered to change them because they look kind of like a pain in the ass. Anyways, we used parachute cord. I had another friend had a spool of parachute cord, and I think I put that on around 2005. And so your nunchuck string needs to be about as wide as your own hand. Mine's a little bit stretched out, and I guess if I really wanted, I could fix it. Now, I don't train with it every single day. There were days I've spent more time on it than others, but every once in a while I like to jump up with these. And you see me, I like to do these to music a lot. It's kind of like the air drums, So this is what I do. I'm not super fancy, but I like to use these just for the fun of it. I think it's good exercise. It seems like an unrealistic thing to work on. Like you can't really, take these around and fight with them or anything. So it's something you do for the fun of it, maybe. And if anything, I think this is really good workout for my wrists. Let's go the other way. Some stuff like this could be really good for your wrists. This particular spin, I feel like this builds up my forearms and stuff like that. Anyways, people want to know how to get good at these, and it's really not a good idea to jump right in with them. I mean, I guess if that's all you want to know, that's fine. Jump right in with them. I started out with a really crappy pair of fake nunchucks. So you might use fake ones. They make them like plastic with pad on them, but they need to have weight to them. Otherwise, you really need to get onto something that has the right weight to it. So this is something where like I'm comfortable enough to spin these, but when I try new moves and stuff, I really run the risk of hitting myself, which I've done when I was new, and I was learning how to take it and swing it over my head and do something where maybe I was handing it around and then I just went whack, and it seemed like I barely hit myself, and it was just bleeding like crazy. So you can easily get hurt or hurt somebody with something like this. See, that's a real weapon. It's not just like a practice weapon, like some swords are just kind of like flimsy and dull. This is like a real weapon actually. So something to think about. Anyways, so get good at these. It helps if you go through the right progress. And so it's similar to like learning sword. You want to start with the long staff. And so we consider it a double-ended staff just because it's the same, except that I put a cap on this. It should be the same on either end. And I did that so I could take this hiking. Now if you have a nice staff by any chance, you certainly don't want to let it get banged around. So this is ideally to hit flesh and bone. So if you're hitting rocks and trees with your staff and you're wondering why it's broken, don't be surprised, see? Now, the basic spins you learn on this help prepare you for what you just saw me do on those nunchucks. So you might start out, and this is also really good wrist and shoulder training if you could get yourself the right staff. So this one is rattan, and it was sold specifically for people who want to make weapons out of it. Otherwise, there's different grades of rattan, and not all of it's appropriate. This one I've had since 2006. I don't train like all the time, but it really looks like new except for the tape on the end. So anyways, with that being said, spinning it just like in front of you, this is just really to learn control of the weapon, but at the same time we're getting a really good exercise out of doing this. Now I had to go to physical training for a little bit to correct my shoulder damage. And one of the things they were teaching us to do would be to lay on our back with like a maybe like a smaller either dumbbell or better yet, what do you call those, kettlebell, you know, maybe 8 or 10 pounds, and then hold it straight up, laying on your back, you know, correct your posture and everything, and you would just take it and twist it all the way, and that's what we do, and then get onto your side and hold it straight out. And it made me realize, well, that's what we do on here. So I'm kind of getting that same good shoulder exercise, so this could be very good reparative therapy if you're having shoulder problems. By the way, by just taking this, so the end that's going down should be the top hand, just keep it there, like your hands are stuck there, and you have to rotate it as far as it could possibly go, and the other hand's doing the same thing. That way, you're getting a full twist, and if you do it both ways, you'll get nice exercise. And then the second one we teach is going upwards. You could do the same thing going downwards, but that's going to come up in the next one. So this one is more of a good exercise to find your alignment and find your boundary. So I don't feel like this seems to be one of the nicest, smoothest spins you could do. It's the opposite, it's just going this way. Instead of just doing one side and one side out, which is fine, we can also let the end go under our arm and just add another. And so this is a nice one. I think this is a great one for your shoulder because I got to rotate it all the way in and all the way out every single time. So this teaches you that alignment. You're finding your boundaries. So there's a lot that goes into each of these things. I could break it down to how we should be standing. So you should be using a good stance. In this case, I need to turn my body to keep my staff going the right way. So this requires quite a bit of turning. And then the last one we would do is both hands on the weapon like this. And we'd just be hitting over repeatedly. And this one requires, so this teaches you alignment and how to move with your weapon. So I always say if you want it to cooperate with you, you gotta cooperate with it. And so that's why, you know, I'm not just gonna stand straight here and try to flip this, and then spin this weapon. So I need to turn my body sideways a little bit, and then I can straighten out as we're coming over. I gotta turn it sideways in order to get this, give it a chance to move through here. See now, I got kind of a tight space I'm working in, see? So, actually, so I'm hitting it between this footstool and this table. Alright, doing all that without breaking everything. Now, that's where I want my weapon to go, right between me and the furniture. Right? So, I guess caution, don't do this at home, your mom's gonna kill you. Anyways, and then the fifth one is like a mixture of them all. And so the reason I'm showing you this, because this kind of is gonna tie over to our nunchuck practice. Now, if you were on the path of swordsmanship, learning the spear, this would be where we start out. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the other things you should do in your path of mastery, right? Doing this all the way around the body. So I'm not showing like an excellent example of everything. I'm just gonna give you an idea of what we're gonna be working on, what you should be working on, okay? See that? I'm using the whole rotation all the way behind me. It's almost like what we're saying is one of our spins is that upward swing. Like if we stop here, got that upward swing going. If we were to stop here, we got that spin in front of us going. If we were to stop it here, got this spin going. What we're doing, adding the hand it up behind the back. Kind of like the reverse of this when we go behind our back. You might coordinate your thumb. My thumbs are coordinated. We decided this is going to be our top end, okay? Thumbs need to be coordinated with the top end as we're handing it around. Now, the progress is once you've been on this weapon for a while, and this is actually, you'd be surprised how many movements we could perform with this weapon. So those are just some of the spins. So you're just kind of doing that for the conditioning to, you know, build your field of motion, you know, things like that. Now, next thing you're going to want to learn, now let's say you're just trying to learn stick fighting or sword fighting. It would be okay if you started with this, but if you start with the long staff first, is even better. It helps you to understand it more deeply. So we might move on to something like this next, and then we might move on to like a half staff, because once you've been working with this, now we're going to talk about, so like that number one spin I showed you on that weapon, you know, it almost seems like it doesn't make sense, but somehow I use this as a handoff. I think that makes a great handoff, you know, so you can always use that as a handoff. So it's not something I see very often. Of course, the second spin I showed you, so imagine, you know, the weapon going all the way down, see? Same thing. So it helps you to see that right there. Aha. So now that I've done it on a longer weapon, this helps me to deepen my understanding on the shorter weapon. Now, when we're talking about hitting overwise this way, whether we're just having a single, or there may be times where combing like this is appropriate, that would be fine. I haven't really seen that much. But just being able to turn around with the weapon and have an idea of where it could move next from learning those basic spins. So maybe I did turn around and go this way, then I understand I'm moving that way, I can flip up this way, come back the other way, or flipping out that way, you know. It helps you to find your circles, help you find your alignment of boundaries. Now the next thing you might want to learn is maybe the wooden sword. And then the metal sword, you might get a dull metal sword before you get to see anything better. So your progress as a swordsman will start here, and then for longer weapons you might move on to a half staff or 3/4 staff. And so we've been learning to fight like this as a single-ended weapon. With a longer weapon, you're going to fight like this, so both hands pointing the same way. And then onto the spear, or the weapon that we would attach the spear to, we would consider that a single-ended spear and use it with both thumbs pointing the same way. So that's the progress we're going to make. So the other way we could be branching off is, what if we end up with a broken staff, okay? So that's what the Chinese call it. They call it a double broken staff, okay? So it's almost like this, but it's broken now. So, stuff I was talking about doing with that, you can kind of do the same thing with this. You know, I mean, if I wanted to, I could use these handoffs. These are actually good handoffs. I use these sometimes playing around, try seeing if you could do that. Same thing, you know, that's okay, you know, it might be a good handoff. But then what you really see that's relevant off of that staff spin is this one coming upwards like this. And of course the other one going downwards like that. So I'm kind of moving it like a staff, you know, so it's just to demonstrate that it is just a staff with a broken part in the middle, held together by strings. So what if your staff breaks and you got nothing else? You can always string it together and keep fighting. That's okay. Right, and then we're talking about the double-ended staff. What if we had one in each hand, so that we could apply that same concept. Imagine this was that long staff I showed you earlier. I was talking about doing this. Similarly, we're doing the same thing like this. So another close relative I introduced is these. So if you had these staves are specifically for fighting, so not so much like a walking cane, specifically for fighting, and they're made to be able to move around yourself. Now, this is again thinking of having that staff broken in two. So I may only have one, like we're talking about having just one single-ended weapon. But then I think personally this would be good progress for you if you were working your way to nunchucks, to be able to work with these as well. To work on, think about just the short stick. If you had, whether it's this or the cane, and if you have the double short stick specifically for fighting, there are other weapons that we use like this. So it's fun to, like, say I might work on my tiger hook sword weapon or my double broadsword weapon forms, you know, like if I don't have those with me, I can always get these out and pretend they're swords, you know. So that's where, you know, some things cross over A lot of stuff we're learning on these stabs, these short sticks, are going to be helpful to us later when we get onto having double blades in our hand, right? So again, using the idea from the double-ended staff of being able to hit over like this, I think this makes a great stepping stone up to your nunchucks, right? Or your swords. So it seems like this is a great stepping stone in either case. And so what I'm looking for is alignment. So I want my alignment. I want to know the tip of my weapons go straight down the center where I want, let's say my opponent would be standing. And then when I bring it back, I want to make sure I'm clearing myself without being too far out. What I'm also trying to do is avoid letting my arms go too far to the left or to the right. And so let's say you've made all that progress, you know, and now you're on to your learning how to do those spins. Okay, so we just want to be able to find kind of a zone where your arm's allowed to sway a little bit, but what people may not know right away is it's almost a back and forth movement that I use to control this spin. So it would be wise to have your hand like this between you and the weapon you're spinning. But yeah, I'm looking to find my bubble, right? And I want to see if I could develop good habits being right here. Oh, see, I found my elbow. So that's because I'm slowing it down and stuff. So, you know, it's all part of practicing this weapon. So, question is, why would I practice these weapons, you know, if I could just buy a gun? Who knows? I kind of think of it as taking playing with sticks to the professional level. When I was a kid, I guess I like to do boy stuff, and I like to play with sticks, you know, and you take sticks and pretend it's a knife and stuff like that. And so I would try to, like, you know, maybe go up to a coconut tree or something with a stick and pretend, you know, like I'm using sword movements. And it's really like, wow, you know, maybe that's built into me, because since I've been going to class, you know, and learning these weapons, it all kind of makes sense. So so I guess in a real fight, you know, more than likely, I think this is the best thing to learn. Cane training, because there really are canes around us, especially if you know old people, right? And I've always been around old people. At least I've been for a while with Rosie, and so she's left me a couple of canes. This is one, her husband made this, I think, more to be a weapon, you know, but yeah, a good cane, you know, with a hook on it, or just, you know, one with a handle on it. So when Damo came to China from India, he had a walking cane in each hand. So it's a good idea to learn to fight with a cane, because, you know, it's a conventional thing you'll see around, but this is not a conventional thing you'll see around. So it kind of makes you wonder why I would even bother. So I think it's just a matter of because I enjoy it, and that's about it. Now, my dad has read up quite a bit on the world wars, like World War I and II, and him and his parents and, you know, his friends and relatives like to talk about this type of thing. It always seemed like we've been heading into World War III, and I guess it seemed like that for quite a while now. Like now we're like, okay, I think we're getting ready for it. So we've been saying this for like more than 20 years, you know, probably more than 30 years, that, you know, World War III is anytime soon. So anyways, they've always thought that World War IV, my father would say, will be fought with sticks and stones. So if I survive World War III and I live long enough for the Fourth War, I will be well equipped. So this is something I don't recommend. So now at the Shellen Center, we teach you the long staff there, and then the next thing we do is we give you this. And that's something I'm going to say, I don't see why that makes very much sense. I think if it was up to me, I wouldn't make this a requirement so much as the long staff, the cane, you know, stuff like that. I think it's definitely be required. But maybe this is something that after you get your green belt or your brown belt, maybe you should get your cane first. I don't know. So I would personally rather have you know, my white belts, you know, my student, if they were on their white to green in that part of their life, you know, I would rather see you training with short sticks before going right to the nunchucks. Now, nunchucks are very, very powerful. Now, here's why. Okay, when you think about like how fast my hand's moving across, like imagine that, right? That's how fast the end's going. Well, check it out. If I add, okay, we call this hammer grip, and this is saber grip. Okay, so I'm gonna flex my wrist as I swing this through, for example, and as I swing it through and flex my wrist, so my hand's only going so fast, but then the weapon, see that? I just made it go a lot faster. Now, acceleration times mass equals force. So if this is how fast it's going, that's how much force there's going to be. Now, if I accelerate that, more force, okay? By having that joint in there. Now, similarly, so imagine if I just had the whole thing moving as one piece, so much force on that because there's so much speed. But if we add the fact that we have another joint right there, so like let's say we take this and just let's make it go big, you know. So that's just like a regular straight stick. Now the advantage I have here is I can shorten the movement, so I can get speed a lot easier with a shorter movement. So that's the whole idea, letting that do the work for you. Now, some of the first things we learn with this, believe it or not, are just swinging it side to side. Swinging it up and down. Getting control of it like that. And there's different things you can understand. So like if it was just me using my wrist firm, like not flexing it and just letting the weapon go up and down, that's one thing. But understanding when to turn my wrist forward. So it's going from a hammer to a saber grip as I'm coming out, for example. That's going to add whoosh. And then maybe the next thing you might understand is how to get it to bounce off your body. Boom, boom. Anyway, so this is just exploring a little bit of what I've been using these for. Is personally my favorite thing to do. Like I don't really I hardly even think about the martial arts back. I just goof off with these a lot, but these are just a few different ways you can look at how this is used. So this is something I would have never thought of if it wasn't for going to class. But taking it like this and shooting it off like that. Okay? The other way is under your arm, shooting it off. If you get it right, you can make it shoot straight out. It's almost like a punch, and if not, otherwise it just slaps. But absolutely crazy stuff. And then you just happen to have them in your hands, you know, before you can even start swinging, you know. Those can be, like I could be blocking and hooking, I could be striking back. So let's say I block, hook, then smack through, right? I could just smack through with this and hit while it's even closed up, or hit with the butt end, you know. We're going this way, somebody sneaks up, whack, butt end comes back. So you'd be surprised some of the different applications with this. But my favorite thing of all is absolutely spinning them. I love to just put on music, okay? And so this is something you've seen me do if you've been watching my videos. Right here, this is what I love, spinning them like this. So I have a lot of fun just doing this for a long time to the beat of dope techno. Anyways, just wanted to give a small chat about these type of weapons, because this has been a big part of my training, and this is what I'm knowledgeable of. And so I wish I could share a little bit more, but don't want to let these videos get too long. But if you're going to learn nunchucks like this, learning how to spin these nunchucks, it's a good idea if, of course, you found a good instructor, someone that knows what you're talking about, and you're lucky to find that, of course. But the progress, the thing that's helped me has been going from the long staff, been able to work with the short staff, and combine the training. One weapon helps teach the other. All right. May you enjoy your nunchuck training and avoid finding your face